Dallas like having a father that says he's going to come. You're 6 years old. He's going to pick you up on Saturday morning and take you to play putt putt. Never shows. I mean, that's who Dallas is. They will leave you.
Big promises and never delivers.
They'll leave you on the doorstep, crying your eyes out because they. By the way, I don't want to say I've had some experience with this, but I'm just telling you that it is no fun to be 5 or 6 years old waiting to go play putt putt or the movies or bowling. And then, dad never shows up and you're just sitting out there looking like a moron trying to figure out what you're going to do with your day. So that's what the Cowboys have been. I get it.
He said it would be different this time.
He did. This is the time. Of course he's showing up. Last time he got thrown in jail or had a wreck or DUI. He's coming this time, though. He'll be here at 10.
With a new girlfriend and a new paint job on the Trans Am.
And that's right. You better get in on the driver's seat because the passenger seat has been crashed in and it doesn't open. So you're getting in behind the driver's seat. Listen, this is an Eerily specific story. Hello and welcome to the Fat Jack Sports Hour. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, the Fat Jack. The weekend is here. It's not just any weekend. The National Football League starts this weekend. Hope everybody's having a great time out there. You got through your Labor Day okay, and you're ready to make some money betting on sports. We got college football, of course, going into week 2. We're having a great start to the season. Everything is posted and documented. We're going to talk about all of that. Get you into the NFL mindset, also give you some free winners for week 2 of college football, and much, much more. So thank you so much for joining us and making us a part of your weekend, or if you're listening to us on a podcast outlet, thank you for doing that as well. Let me quickly bring in my co-host from Louisville, Kentucky, Mr. Brandon Rush. Brandon, how are you, buddy?
I woke up this morning, Jack, the lightest weight I have been in my 40s, and now I feel compelled with it being the start of the NFL season, like setting a target for Super Bowl weekend to be like, hey, if I hit this threshold, we do this. If I don't, I get a punishment. We can hammer that out soon. But all that excitement aside, the NFL is here. This is the week where things start to really get meaty, and it's finally here.
This is how we normally start building a ton of profit almost immediately in the NFL with college football now with a week or so under our belt. By the way, the weight stuff, Brandon, I will tell you, I used to be 340 pounds. I now weigh 208. I've got ways that you can get there, but they are not natural. No. I'm pulling for you. I want you to be able to exercise, diet, and discipline to work. Everybody, I want that to work for you. If at any point you decide it can't, you let me know, and I'll have you looking like a much more attractive version of myself. Because you are one of those people. I know these other people, too, that, if they lost 300, whatever, they lost a bunch of weight, they would be good-looking dudes.
Right.
Or good-looking girls. A lot of girls out there. I know a couple really in particular that weigh a ton, but if they lose 150 pounds, I mean, there is some smoke show hiding under that fat. I'm telling you. And there's no way to tell them that, but I'm telling you, the nicest way I can, if you just drop 150, lined up out the door type deal. Speaking of lined up out the door, it's the NFL. So if you're betting the games, now is the time. Go to fatjacksports.com. If you've waited to get signed up, not a smart idea. We turned about 12 units of profit in the preseason. We started into college football like we normally do with lighter picks because I'm in the business, Brandon, and as you are, of making money. I don't gamble for fun. This is not entertainment value only for me. I'm trying to make people money, including myself. So the picks that go out to my clients, not only this week, but next week and the next week, they're the exact plays that I'm personally betting. The only complaints I get over week 0 and week 1 of college football, not necessarily in this week of week 1 of the NFL, because we're going to have some selections and we're going to hit the ground running, honestly, during this week. But the only complaints I get are, Jack, why didn't I get 7 or 8 selections? There's a whole bunch of games on Saturday. I'd like to have 10 selections. I want to hammer it. Guys, the minute you say that, I know you're a losing gambler. All right, if you're looking for somebody that doesn't care if you win. And that is just not me. I'm not here to entertain you as far as what picks we give. I'm here to make you money, to build profit. So if you have $0 today in your sports betting account, my job as I see it, for myself and my clients, is to get that up to 100 to 200 to 500 to 5,000 to 10,000 to 50,000 to 100,000. I have clients that have gone much higher than that, starting at $50 a game. And so I'm always glad that week 1 of college football is over and we're on to week 2. And by the way, if you want to see all the results that we had a bunch of plays going. We swept the board on Sunday. Saturday didn't go great, which is fine. It doesn't matter because one or two selections makes up for what we lost on Saturday, which was next to nothing. If you follow the system, you're going to make it. And by the way, we had one leading up to that, literally like 10 or 15 units of profit, not counting soccer, not counting the other things, just football. And so baseball was a 7-2 run leading up to that. So if you're just betting the stuff you're getting, like we're asking you to get it, you're into profit right now already in August and going into September, and you're ready to make money, as opposed to the guys who want to bet 7 games for their max value, hammer one, parlay it with 5 others. They're down a bunch of money, most likely right now, and they're trying to play catch up. I don't want to play catch up. I bet way too much money to play catch up. So fatjacksports.com. Get signed up today. NFL plays are going out, have gone out, depending on when you're listening to the show. College football has gone out, going out. We release starting on Tuesday of that week. And so you'll be getting stuff all week long, getting you into profit. Brandon, what jumped out at you from last week, week 1 of college football, before we get into this week?
Well, it was a bunch of blowouts, especially for ranked versus unranked teams. And in the few ranked versus ranked games, Georgia went out and did what Georgia does. The Notre Dame Texas A&M game was actually quite entertaining for it being a lower scoring game, but there's so much newness with those programs between new quarterbacks and new head coaches, and it being the first really the first game of the season where they don't get preseasons in college. So there's a feeling out period throughout the first half of some of these important games. Looking ahead sort of to this week, Michigan, Texas. What did those two teams do last week? Texas played a nobody, thumped them. Michigan played an ish team, sluggish. Maybe they were looking ahead to Texas. So a lot to kind of take away from week 1. That said, nothing really, no one hurt their cause. No one's out of the national championship picture if they weren't already in the picture to begin with. So it was a nice sort of ramp up into week 2, because now is when things really kind of start to see, is Team A better than Team B? We have data that we can go off of now to sit back and say, okay, this happens, so this should happen going forward. So a lot of exciting stuff, some fun games. Only one major upset. I think Vanderbilt beating Virginia Tech was probably the biggest upset of the weekend. So all in all, entertaining. But boy, NFL going this weekend, and it's ramped up, man.
Yeah, we could spend a lot of time on last week. You're right. I mean, there were some games, there always are in week 1, where after the fact you look like, why didn't I just bet my house on that game? That was super easy. We gave a lot of good information on the show, for sure. I talked about Georgia and Clemson, said I like Clemson. By the way, Clemson getting humiliated by Georgia doesn't mean Clemson stinks.
Mm-hmm.
If Clemson plays Florida State right now, Clemson's going to beat Florida State based on what we saw. A lot of teams this year, people are going to find, are going to look bad against Georgia. That is not a big deal. Would I worry about, if I was a Clemson Tiger fan, would I worry about the offense? Absolutely. Would I worry about what they're able to do when they get into the playoffs? If they get in the playoffs, they're not ready for that. Absolutely. Do I think they're winning the national title? No, none of that. But looking back, I said this around the country, I added a bunch of new markets and for radio, TV show, we talked about this during the college preview show, that if Clemson goes and looked horrible and got humiliated, I would not feel any different about them than I did before. Nobody under the right mind would think that Clemson, going about the way they go about things, was going to go out and dominate Georgia. Georgia has the best athletes in the country. Georgia's as deep as they get. They have their quarterback returning. All the pieces are there. This is a great football team that's not going to be pushed most of the time unless they go turn the ball over. Some of the other, and so there were some games that I'm after the fact thinking, well, we should release that. And a lot of it we talked about. Texas, I talked about them actually around the country. I'm going on in Austin now, go on in Jackson, Mississippi, which runs all over the state there, and a few new markets. And they all asked about the team this week that was a big favorite that I felt like was probably going to handle things. And it helped that 84% of the money was on Colorado State. It was 73%, and then Saturday it was actually bet up, so a ton of money went in on Colorado State. I like what Jay Norvell is, but listen, I know there's fans in a lot of parts of the country that don't want to hear this. Texas is good. Texas got a lot of pieces, and they are deep at quarterback. They're deep at the positions you have to be deep at. There are some other teams out there that blew teams out in week 1 that I will tell you, Brand, I don't think we know much yet based on competition, based on things, how they happen. And I'll tell you this much. I'm looking at you, Oklahoma Sooner fans.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know I don't listen to any of the local radio because I'm not in Oklahoma much on game days or the after. Anybody that walked away from that game against Temple and said, well, we've arrived, we're back. Listen, guys, first of all, first night game, SEC, sold out against a horrible opponent that was horrible last year. And, oh, by the way, here's the ball 7 times. 7 times. Was it 7? 6 or 7 turnovers. If you didn't win 51-3, you got problems. If you get that, and that is the perfect storm. And I got news for you, Sooner fans. And this, by the way, I know we go on around the country, but I just feel like I'm going to point them out when we go to the markets too. You're an underdog to Tennessee, and you better get better between now and then. You played a horrible team. The execution at the skill, and don't email me. You're going. I shouldn't even say anything. I could just move on to the NFL.
Even though we are on sports talk radio stations across the country, this is not a two-way conversation.
It's not.
Here's what Jack thinks. Let me hear what you think. We don't do that here.
If you've heard the new bumpers on the show, we used to say, if you want to win and get ready to win, call da-da-da-da-da-da-da, or go to fatjacksports.com to win. It now does not say call anybody. I don't know how people are getting my number. I had a guy call me on Saturday. Jack, I want to bet $5,000 on the Sooners to go undefeated and win the national championship. I let him get that far, and I said, why are you calling me? Google. We have a new AI chat bot on the website. Put it in there. Don't call me with your where can I gamble in my area question. I'm on all over I don't know where you live. I don't know what you're doing with I don't know who you are. I have busy. You know why? Because I have myself and my clients. We're getting ready to bet millions of dollars collectively. Personally, myself, 150,000, whatever it is over a course of a weekend. I don't have time to tell you where you'd bet if you live in, Fargo, North Dakota. I can figure it out. That's not why we're here. Go to fatjacksports.com if you want to win and click. We have the AI thing. Brandon, can you see it on the front of the website? Because I put in there the other day, I figured out how to use it. And I put in there, why does the Fat Jack keep losing all of his games? I just decided what it would do if I started asking stupid questions. It was very informative. It said, hey, dumbass, he's not losing all of his games. He's losing. In fact, he wins every da-da-da-da-da-da. Every whatever it is, whatever the stats are. I guess it goes into and looks at data.
It calculates it, yeah.
Data.
It looks at the results on the results page and says, hey, it was 5 out of every 6 weeks, and 10 of the last 12 years or whatever. Yeah.
That's amazing, by the way. I mean, that it actually took a question that I asked that was dumb, and it basically said, no, in fact, here's the stats. Here's the results.
You're dumb. Here's the data.
And it did it so much nicer than I would do it. I used to think AI was just going to take over the porn industry and actually everybody's job.
That's coming, but yeah.
But right now, I think it's productive. I think it's a great spot. So go use it on the website. If you have questions, ask it, because it will tell you, and it'll give you facts. It will tell you what's actually going on. Go to fatjacksports.com. Get signed up today. We're going to talk about college football. More in the second segment, because it is the start of the NFL season. Important to get that going and get in people's mindset. This was, Brandon, every year I look back, and if you take out soccer, because soccer actually, to this point, as stupid as it is, percentage-wise, has created the most value of the most profit of the entire year. Now, it's a small sample size. We had the summer tournaments, the Copa America and the Euro, and we've had 3 weeks of fall soccer. And so, but besides soccer, which has been the most percentage-wise, most productive, profitable thing I have so far. But again, small sample size. The NFL was the most profitable sport of all of them last year, based on how many selections went out and how much profit there was. So we made money in all 4, but more money in the NFL. So I'm excited about the NFL, and that's been kind of a trend. I used to be a college football guy. That was my whole thing. and I'm still making money in college football. But the last few years, the NFL, and I do blame the TV show as much as anything. I'm on that show with other experts, one other gambling expert, Brandon Marshall, who played for the Broncos, and a couple of, and we have resources with some of the sports books and different things that they're kind of insider type, without
Hmm.
at the risk of sounding like I'm, one of those dudes. Um, you get different information. I've been able to apply that information differently than I maybe would have 5 years ago, and it's resulted in more profit. It's been really nice. So,
Yeah,
um,
the bread is definitely getting buttered in the NFL a
yeah, right.
lot at a higher rate than it is at college, and it was a weird shift to watch from the outside, so to speak, to be like, because when I started with you, yeah, it was college football, bam, and then the NFL was just icing on whatever cake. That is, I would say, probably shifted from like a 70-30 in terms of profit from college football to the NFL to maybe like a 60-40 in favor of the NFL now.
It has, yeah, the last couple of years. Now I will tell you, the monster weeks and the monster years are when we get them both, and I just dial into both. That's
Hmm.
why we're able to we have a lot more 10-1 weeks, 11-2 weeks, those type in volume than I've ever had in the history of the service, and that's all based on the NFL results. I didn't forget how to handicap college football, and so we're going to have a lot of 5-1s or 6-0 or 5-0 type college Saturdays. And if the week went pretty well leading up to that, and then we get to the NFL, and then I run off a 4-1 Sunday or 5-0 or whatever, those are the monster weeks. Those used to be once out of every 7, 8, 9 weeks, somewhere in there. They are now once out of 5 or 6 weeks. I mean, and those are so nice because even the dumbest of players cannot screw up a 9-0. You know what I mean? That's when I'll get the ticket sent to me of, I turned $100 into 8,000 on Saturday. Jack, way to go! Because he's parlayed it and wheeled it and done. I mean, just done everything we tell people not to do. They've done it, and now they think that I'm literally Biff from Back to the Future. Or I've got a book or something. So go to FatJackSports.com if these are things you want to happen. Week 1, Brandon. What do you think? I mean, we've got, by this time this show runs in a lot of markets, we're already going to have seen the Chiefs and the Ravens. We're going to have seen the Packers and the Eagles. I love the Thursday, Friday kickoff versus the 2-1 night. What are your thoughts of that?
I'm with you. I don't necessarily like playing in Brazil, but I do like the Thursday, Friday, and then the solo game on Monday night. The Monday night doubleheader had issues, but at the same, I like the idea of a Monday night
Yeah.
doubleheader, but it need an earlier start time for the first game. That
Yeah.
said, this is a fun start. Take away the Brazil aspect, and I think this is probably what the NFL goes to going forward.
Yeah, Monday night, that's it. They're a lot like me running or starting to exercise. In theory, it was great. It would be really nice if it would happen. Washboard abs would really do wonders for my self-esteem. But in the application of it
Hmm.
is very difficult because you have teams, even if you start East Coast and go them earlier, nobody wants to start in those big, huge markets that are all on the East Coast before 7 o'clock.
Right.
Because people have to get off work. They're not playing in Norman, Oklahoma or Knoxville, Tennessee, where it's literally you walk from your front yard. You got to get on a subway. You got to get on a train. You got to go park. They want a tailgate. There's a whole money machine that goes around these games. And so they were trying to find that sweet spot. They never really did. And
Hmm.
so they were overlapping them, which didn't kind of hurt ratings. Now they've got all these streaming services that will pay huge money for it. So we're allowed to do some things like replace a Friday night, West Coast Conference game or something with the Packers and the Eagles from Brazil. I don't mind the Brazil aspect. I like the fact that they're traveling. As I said, I go to the London games and do a lot of stuff from there. Stay tuned. We'll do radio and certainly watch the TV show, which, again, is attached to the website at fatjacksports.com. You can go and actually watch the episodes of Beat the Odds. Once we get into the London games, sometimes I go to Germany and do some stuff. So I like the fact they travel. Eagles-Packers is a really fascinating game. People love what Jordan Love has become. They think that that's what this team is. Jalen Hurts, Philadelphia is a little bit this year like Buffalo, and that they've been a main story. And I suspect that one of those two teams, at least, maybe both, by the time we get into November, December, will be back at the top of everybody's mind. But I do think it's interesting how, as we're heading into the new season, people have found reasons to really latch on to teams like the Packers and teams like Detroit, Chicago with them picking up Caleb Williams. Those type teams have become the sexy kind of darlings to take these huge jumps in a league that you really normally don't have huge jumps. You have stepping stones. The teams set to step stone up are teams like the Eagles, like Buffalo, even like Dallas. You could throw out one game where they really did a lot well for most of the season and then had one bad game, which is what Dallas did. And I understand Dallas like having a father that says he's going to come. You're 6 years old. He's going to pick you up on Saturday morning and take you to play putt-putt. Never shows. I mean, that's who Dallas is. They will leave you.
Big promises and never delivers.
They'll leave you on the doorstep crying your eyes out because by the way, I don't want to say I've had some experience with this, but I'm just telling you that it is no fun to be 5 or 6 years old waiting to go play putt-putt or the movies or bowling, and then dad never shows up and you're just sitting out there looking like a moron trying to figure out what you're going to do with your day. So that's what the Cowboys have been. I get it.
He said it would be different this time.
He did. This is the time of course he's showing up. Last time he got thrown in jail or had a wreck or DUI. He's coming this time though. He'll be here at 10
with a new girlfriend and a new paint job on the Trans Am.
And that's right. You better get in on the driver's seat because the passenger seat has been crashed in and it doesn't open. So you're getting in behind the driver's seat. Listen, this is an Eerily specific story. I know. But
this is why we have T-tops.
That's right. He'll lift you up when you're young, throw you in the back. Let's go do something fun. But we're going to chicken fights, not bowling. Is actually how that story would go. So, BadJackSports.com.
Sorry.
I digress.
Back to the NFL.
Back to the NFL. You guys aren't paying me for therapy. Let's figure out who's going to win these games. All right. So Sunday's games. Let's look at Sunday's games. Brandon, what jumps out at you? You've got a couple of marquee matchups Thursday, Friday. I want to spend a lot of time on those because I know a lot of people aren't going to get them.
Mm-hmm.
What about Sunday says, we're going to find some things out? I got a couple, and what do you think?
My two big ones, Jacksonville at Miami. They obviously gave Tua a bunch of money. Jacksonville was a playoff team in previous years. I think that they have an opportunity to potentially win that division because I think Houston last year wasn't necessarily an aberration, but because they did so much so early, there's going to be more film on them. They may have a bit of a regression. So I'm very excited to see what Jacksonville can do with some new pieces. And Miami's going to be a big test right off the bat. Another one is going to be Vegas and the Chargers. How different are the Chargers without Keenan Allen, without Austin Eckler, and with a new philosophy with Harbaugh at the helm? How different does that team look going against a team that is maybe at least now settled at the head coaching position? And stylistically, those are two very different teams than we saw maybe 18 months ago.
Yeah, should be better defense for sure with the Chargers. Chargers 3-point favorite against Las Vegas, total 40.5. So Chargers about that home field advantage is what you generally get in the NFL. And the other one, Cardinals, or not the Cardinals.
Jacksonville, Miami. Yeah, Miami's probably
Miami,
3.5.
3-point favorite as well.
Okay.
Total 49.5. So about pick 'em. I mean, those are a couple competitive games. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Really like Sunday's card from a spectator standpoint and from a gambling standpoint. The two that jump out at me. One on Saturday, and I kind of cheated because Monday night's a huge one for me as well. The Cowboys and Browns. I love this game. This is one of those you're going to get the quarterback going for Cleveland. We've talked about them. Cowboys get the new contract for the receiver. They're a 2.5-point underdog on the road at Cleveland. If this Cowboy team is going to be what they think they should be, they're going to beat Cleveland. And this is not because I think they're the best team in the league or anything, but because I think Cleveland's overrated. Our season win totals that already went out, they go out for free, and there's a ton of them this year, 7 or 8 in college football, about that, maybe even more in the NFL. You'll see Cleveland under the totals on that list. I didn't touch the Cowboys one, but Cleveland under the total. They're 2.5-point favorite, total 42.5 at home, so about that same field goal. The other big one, not only going to get to see about what Cleveland has at quarterback and offensively, but the Jets going to San Francisco. We know what we're getting from San Francisco. They've played well. They signed their receiver. All of that's going better now there. They're at home. It's Monday night, and they're playing the Jets and Aaron Rodgers in what should be one of the better defenses in the league. So how quickly does Aaron Rodgers get back into Aaron Rodgers? We've talked about this before. Father Time is undefeated. Do we see some things of that? Here's what I'd say about that game. By the way, 49ers 3.5-point favorite, total of 43.5 on Monday night. Here's what I'd say about that. Very similar to what I think about Clemson. That even if the Jets go in and lose by 14 points, a blowout by NFL standards, I would not throw away the Jets on the year. This whole Aaron Rodgers just wakes up after his surgery and everything's back to normal. I understand they've had multiple team practices and all that. Whatever. I think that we may see some rust out of Aaron Rodgers. Now, I don't
play in the preseason.
That's what I mean. All these teams, there's some of these other coaches that literally should already be fired because they're not playing their quarterbacks in the preseason. I mean, how do they know what they have, honestly? They need to play them every chance they get. I'm not just saying – I understand that the dual practices make they value more. I understand they see them during camp, but why would you not want to see them more? I don't understand that. And some of them aren't even starters. I mean, they're not playing backups. The whole thing makes no sense to me at all. But if the Jets go and lose to San Francisco, I'm not saying they're going to, but if they do, I still don't know that the Jets are done, but that's the one on my card. Both of those two, not counting the two early games, obviously, the Philadelphia game, the Baltimore game against the Chiefs, those type of things are big, but those are early in the weekend, so I thought we'd touch on some of these other ones. Free winner for the first segment before we take a break real quick. I'm going to give you the Cowboys plus some points against the Browns. I don't think I'll release that as of right now. They're only getting a little under a field goal. I think they win that game straight up. I don't believe – I understand what they are defensively. I don't think offensively they're going to be that effective this year. I think they're going to have trouble scoring points, and I do think the Cowboys, although they also don't play anybody in the preseason, we don't really know. There will be a little rust here. I think that they're able to go on the road and get it done in the dog pound. So first free winner, this is free. Let's not go crazy, all right? Going to Costco, we're having samples of the chips. We're not doing anything crazy. Cowboys plus the points over the Browns. It's your first free winner of the day. FatJackSports.com. Get signed up today if you want to make money this year. Now is the time. Packages from the weekend through Monday night's game. All the college, all the NFL, everything, all the free baseball. Free baseball, as I said, we kind of glanced over. It was on an 8-2 run over the last 8 or 9 days heading into last weekend. Really nice profit. It's free. You don't pay for it. Also, player props are available now. If you're listening to this on Sunday, it's too late. But if you listen to this earlier in the week, we have player prop packages. We've talked about those results. They are incredibly strong over the last 5 or 6 years. First time I've ever offered that package. Get those packages. Either the weekend, you're going to get 6 to 12 player props going into this weekend. If you sign up for the year, it costs about $65 a week, $50-$60 a week, somewhere in there. You're going to make a lot of money on these player props between now and the Super Bowl. Add those to your package where you're getting all the top plays and make money this year betting the games against us.
If you want to stay in touch with everything related to the Fat Jack, follow us on all the socials: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, you name it. We are there at Fat Jack Sports. You can also watch the Fat Jack Sports Hour on YouTube every week. Get free winners and tips on how to become a better sports bettor. Plus, see Jack's appearances on the nationally syndicated TV show Beat the Odds. Stay connected with the Fat Jack Sports Service at Fat Jack Sports on all the socials and on YouTube.
Hey guys, this is the Fat Jack. Are you finally ready to get a better plan betting the games this year? Let me help. Go to FatJackSports.com, where we understand that it's not the gambling she hates, it's the losing. FatJackSports.com.
In college football, a pair of double-digit underdogs won outright as Vanderbilt upset Virginia Tech in overtime, and Boston College, a 16.5-point underdog, went to Tallahassee and thumped Florida State, forcing one guy on Twitter to eat dog poop. The NFL kicks off this week, and if you're looking for a week one trend, teams that lost the Super Bowl have not fared well in week one. Super Bowl losers are 5-19 since 2000. And the 49ers, who lost the Super Bowl back in February to Kansas City, opened the season at home as 4-point favorites against the New York Jets on Monday night. And lastly, sports bettors are fading Senator Ted Cruz, and rightfully so. On top of being a terrible human being, the man is a jinx, as Texas teams are now 2-16 when he shows up at their games. Guess where Ted was on Saturday? I would say I'm sorry to Texas A&M, but I'm not. I'm Brandon Rush. We'll see you next week here on the Sports Betting News of the Week presented by the Fat Jack Sports Service. Welcome back to the Fat Jack Sports Hour, and now here is our host, a man leading you into the buzzsaw that is the NFL. He is the Fat Jack.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Fat Jack Sports Hour, segment number 2, heading into week 1 of the NFL. Yeah, Brandon, next week is always my busiest week. I'm amazed at how it won't matter really whether guys get lucky and win a little bit or lose a lot. I mean, this next week's when people normally sign up. Don't do that. All you're doing is prolonging the profit that we've already made to this point, which is hundreds and hundreds of dollars for people out there that are betting even $100 a game and more if you've signed up earlier. Or you're prolonging that, and more importantly, if you're going the wrong direction and you're not going to guarantee yourself to win this week on your own, you're putting yourself in a spot where you're going to have to play catch-up, which is going to take a little bit longer. So don't do that. Go right now. Prices are not going down. So go to fatjacksports.com. Get signed up today. Get in the system. Plays are emailed to you. You get a personal portal to go get the plays off of. They will make you money consistently. And as importantly, Brandon, I think it allows guys to see what winning gamblers are doing during the games. When you're playing on your own, even if you get lucky, you're kind of guessing on what sharp players that consistently win money are doing. Because if you're honest with yourself, ask yourself, when is the last time you finished a season and made more money than you lost? For most of you, that's going to be never. And some of you will have a story about 2004 when you hit the 16 parlay that paid a bunch of money and then you gave that away, but so you made something. But the one thing about signing up is that guys are able to see, for better or worse, kind of what, it's not just me, but guys that win money betting on what we're doing, how we're approaching it, what type of games we're playing, how much we're betting. Because as I said, we didn't have a ton of we have these selections in week 1. We had a bunch of opinions and some extra plays that all you would play. You get the recommended betting guide. You're going to bet on those games, but you're going to bet less than you would on the selections because in week 1 of college football, we all know that we're going to make money long term, so we don't have to kill them this week. We're trying to make money this week that will build into next week and the week after. And so we approach it intelligently as if this is a business and not just people out there just trying to have fun for the weekend. So you're able to see those things. And then this week, more importantly, you're going to see the plays that we are playing that are our top plays. We're going to have some opinions also, which are played for half. And so you're going to be able to really get an idea of what it takes to make money betting on sports over the long run. So you get the weekend package, the monthly package through September is an option, or longer at fatjacksports.com. College football, week number 2, Brandon. What games you talked about? Texas, Michigan a little bit. What else jumps out?
Kansas State going to Tulane. There's a couple teams which are ranked that are going on the road this week that are kind of measuring stick games. Tulane always at least over the last 5-6 years has been a tough team. So K-State going on the road will be very interesting to see. Kansas, another one going to Illinois. Not exactly a matchup that you would think to see early in the year, especially on the road.
I love it.
But then also teams like Tennessee going to NC State, a potential poison the well type of game to where if Tennessee is what people think they are, this is a game that they probably should handle, but it's a tough place to play. The benefit for Tennessee in that game, at least, is that game is not in Raleigh. That is in Charlotte at the Panther Stadium. So you don't get the true road game mentality or the road game experience, but still playing at a neutral site. I'm using air quotes, though, for those listening on the radio or on the podcast. It's still a test, but maybe not the test that it probably could be. So those are some very intriguing games, just in terms of teams that are having to prove early kind of what they are in spots that they may not be able to otherwise. Oklahoma State, Arkansas, another one of those games.
That's what I was going to point out is Oklahoma State, Arkansas, very entertaining game for me. By the way, I'm loving the new vibe of college football. I really am. You mentioned the matchups and the kind of the changes.
We wouldn't have got these 7-10 years ago.
No way. And even the schools out of the SEC that typically play cream puffs
Cupcakes.
in week 1,
yeah.
we're getting, because of the expanded, we're going to get more of these because of the expanded playoff. I think a lot of these teams are going to understand that if I go and I beat, LSU and USC, if I beat LSU, if I'm LSU and I beat USC, which they didn't, of course, but if I had Now I'm setting myself up for that's a huge win. The people at the end are going to look at those extra spots a little bit like the NCAA basketball tournament. So you're going to need quality of win, and you're going to need, if you don't win your conference. So if you're in the SEC or the Big Ten, playing these out of conference, or the Big 12 for that matter, we don't know exactly how it's going to fall. You want to be able to put yourself in a spot where you didn't play Akron State, and that nobody cares about, that you have another quality of win. So if it looks like there's any subjectiveness going on at all, that you're going to win that battle. So I'm really liking the new vibe. But yeah, you mentioned Oklahoma State and Arkansas. I'm excited about that. I don't think Arkansas is all of a sudden fixed.
No.
But I do think that Oklahoma State's win is a better win than a lot of people would think. I think
South Dakota State was the FCS national champion a year ago. Granted, they lost a lot off that team, but for Oklahoma State, who has questions galore about anything in their offense outside of Ollie Gordon, for them to go out and perform the way they did in that ball game was a pleasant surprise. Even though I was banging the drum for South Dakota State.
No, it's okay.
Last week.
Sometimes you lose, so it's all right.
Yeah,
It's the same guy that said that had North Dakota State against Colorado and won. So,
Fair.
I mean, whatever. You broke even on the deal. But yeah, that's a better win than they think. Arkansas, this game, Arkansas's covered 6 of their last 7 games on the road. So going back to last year, this team will go on the road and outperform the market consistently. They're getting over a touchdown here. 8-point underdog Arkansas is to OSU. Oklahoma State 6-1 against the spread. Their last 7 at home. Oklahoma State has made a habit late in the season last year. We're going to see this trend grow if they continue winning games at home. And as you head into the Big 12, new schedule, new look, that's going to be important. So also 5 of the last 5 Arkansas games have gone over. They had a bunch of offense in their opener against a nobody. So I believe Arkansas State or somebody like that. It was a bad team. So, but yeah, a bunch of points in week 1 there. So you talk about Kansas State and Tulane. Tulane, I don't know. I'm like you, Brandon. Maybe it's because we've spent so much time together. I'm always a fan of figuring out what other teams are when they play Tulane.
Mm-hmm. That is a true, I think, measuring stick program, because they have athletes, and those are kids who maybe got passed over by an LSU. They got passed over by Tennessee or Ole Miss. So they go there with a mindset of like, hey, screw you. I'm gonna prove that you made a mistake in not taking me. And so I think they take that out on other teams.
A little bit like the FCS teams we talked about last week, going on the road. You're getting and what's interesting there, you don't get as much transfer action as you would think. I mean, he's building a culture there as well, and so they show up with some older kids, which is a bigger deal. First-time starters are older kids. That can, it's like anything else, man. You look at AAU and basketball as youth. I mean, you'll have guys jump around all these teams, and they end up just not being as good as they hoped they were, and that their parents hoped they were. And so college football, you're kind of getting that same thing, kids jumping around for a bunch of different reasons. They're not all working out. So you get a team that has some seniors that have been there 2 or 3 years. There's some value in that. K-State that is the lifeblood of K-State. Building people, building kids, culture, making people better football players by the time they leave than when they arrive. Kansas State going on the road, much tougher test. It'd be hot, very hot down there. It's been hot in Little Manhattan also, but going to be hot down there.
That New Orleans heat's different.
A little different. It hits you a little bit different. Kansas State 13-6 against the spread. Their last 19 on the road, so outperforming the market most of the time when they head on the road. Under the total has been good at home in the Tulane games. They're under 8 of their last 9. 6 of their last 7 games overall have also gone under. So playing some defense down there. Let's talk about Texas and Michigan. What did you think about? Brandon should have, the elites as an extra play got Texas.
Right.
And it's one of those that after I sent the picks out, I almost turned around and resent them after I looked a little bit further and, really kicking myself that I did. They did exactly what I thought they'd do. The line kind of told you that's what was going to happen. Colorado State is no slouch.
That's not a bad program.
No. And Norvell's, they're getting better athletes. They're going to give Colorado everything they want.
Next week.
We didn't talk about that game. We'll probably circle back to that in a minute. But, I mean, love him or hate him, you got to love the Deion Sanders show. What are they throwing? Throwing the ball on first down. I mean, this goes back to 8 or 9 days. Those of you who don't have a good memory won't remember. But they're up 5. All they got to do is run the ball in the line of scrimmage 3 or 4 times, and the game is virtually over. On first down, they run play action and throw man-to-man coverage, only up 5.
Looking for an exclamation point instead of just taking the win.
Looking to cover the number because
I
of
think
all the
that's
famous
probably
people that are standing on the sidelines and had money because you can bet on Colorado.
I think that's probably more accurate than anything else.
100%. Guys are in his ear, 100%. Some of those famous people that show up to those games had $10, $20, $50,000 bet on. I promise you that came from Dion.
Mm-hmm.
He knows
he'll never admit it. But
no,
yeah.
he's not going to admit it, but he has the answer to it after the fact. And he's like, you know what? I'll take a little heat. Who cares?
All right.
We are getting man coverage. I'll blame it on that. That is the biggest crock of BS ever. Dude is trying to cover late. I get it. I would never have done it, and it worries me. I don't want to say there's a special place in hell, but I do not like betting on coaches, for better or worse, that are going to do things late in the game that they should not be doing based on how people have bet money. That to me is not.
That's dangerous.
I can't predict that. That's not consistent. So I don't love it. It rubs me the wrong way, but that's exactly what happened there. Texas, Michigan, Brandon. What happens here? You got to be careful. We talk about this. We'll talk about this a lot next week in the NFL. But you got to be careful about overreacting to what you saw. Texas, as you said, manhandled Colorado State. Michigan struggled, especially early in that game. But that is the number one rule about week 2 in both of these sports, NFL and college, about what not to do is overreact to what you saw a week ago. So what do you think happens here with Michigan hosting Texas on Saturday?
If Michigan plays like they did in the second half of that game, granted it was against Fresno State, they will be able, I think, to defensively slow Texas down enough to be within the number late. And that's a big question mark because I think Texas will out-athlete Michigan in a speed and quickness way where Michigan probably has the advantage in strength and power. That said, I do not trust a first-time starter who Orgy, the quarterback kid, which that name's going to go down in infamy, I'm sure. If they run the ball, they'll be fine. They'll keep Texas close, keep the game low scoring. I don't know, and if they're going to be able to keep up pace with Texas, especially given what they were a week ago, even knowing what you just said about not overreacting and overvaluing what we saw a week ago. Texas is a different breed than we've seen maybe in the past 5, 10, definitely the last 20 years. So they're a good squad, but going to the big house, that is a huge test. We've seen Texas go to Alabama in previous years. We've seen Texas, of course, play at the Cotton Bowl, which is a huge environment. I don't know if that program's ready to face 107,000 people.
So that's kind of, I think, the question is the only thing that matters to me is should Texas be a 6.5-point favorite on the road? Because I think we can take a lot about what we saw last week of both these teams, good and bad. You laid all that out. But it's how do we factor in a 6.5-point favorite? And by the way, they open at 3.5. Sharps immediately jump on Texas, move it to 6.5. It then was bet back by a group of really smart gamblers. So it's not really a consensus, at least yet, on where this number should be. It's heading toward a touchdown. And I think that's more based on Harbaugh not being there. I mean, yeah, they're going to take a step back, but there are some – listen, I know really, really good gamblers in Las Vegas. Some of the elite plays that are lower rated come from these guys. And they do as well, almost as well as I do on a yearly basis. And they play a ton of money. 100,000 a game, 200,000 a game. They love Michigan to not perform well this year. They believe they step way back.
Mm-hmm.
Harbaugh, change at leadership, change at skill position, all of the things that are going on at Michigan, they believe that is a huge effect, and that's one of their bigger bets of the year. With that being said, I mean, almost a touchdown or heading up to a touchdown against the Texas team we've only seen once. How much of this are we putting in last year versus last week? I think that's really tough to say. If the total's right, Michigan covers this number. If this thing stays in the 40s total-wise, so 24-21, Michigan, I think, is going to have enough success against the Texas defense to score 3 touchdowns. So if the total's right and the total's 45.5, then I think that Michigan covers. I think it's going to need to get over for Texas to cover this
win.
number.
Yeah,
they'll have to impose their will, get Texas out of that run first game because make no mistake, although Harbaugh's gone, this is not going to be a philosophy change at Texas. At Michigan. Defense first, win the line of scrimmage, throw when you have to. Those type of things that have gotten Michigan national title last year. That's going to continue there under this new regime. So interesting to see. You make me play it. I probably go over the total. I think there's more points than the public believes. Now, I'll tell you, I'm the same guy. I also like over in the Clemson-Georgia game, and that was horrible. So it will not be a release for sure. But that's probably the first place I'd start. After that, under a touchdown, probably lean toward Texas. But I do think you're going to have to earn it. I think it's 28-21, 28-20, something like that.
Yeah, if both teams are in the 20s, I'm with you. I think that probably helps Michigan in that sense. But yeah, I think the magic number for Michigan is 18. They score 18 points, they probably will cover that number. But if Texas's offense is what we saw a week ago and what we saw late in the year a year ago, they probably win by a good amount.
Yeah, that's one of those games. A lot of the general public will be on. We will be on much easier places to make money. The second free winner of the day is we will not be playing the Texas-Michigan game at all. That'll be the lock. That'll be a lock.
We joke about it, but there are people or handicappers out there that you're going to hear on the radio, that you're going to see advertised on Instagram and all this other crap. That's their game of the year. It's the game. It's the September game of the month. There are much easier places to win money that'll spend just as easy as Missouri State, Ball State will as the profit that does from Texas, Michigan.
Yeah, and I'm not going to make my customers or myself watch Missouri State, Ball State either, but you're exactly right. Yeah, that's kind of the red flag siren rule right now if you're a gambler and you're thinking about what to do. It's certainly, God forbid, thinking about going with another service. There literally are only a couple out there that I know that make money that will sell you their picks. There's like 3 of us total. And I do better than them most of the time. So, but with that being said, if you're just out there listening to the radio and call on a recorded number, game of the week, game of the month, game of the year, whatever, and especially if it doesn't matter if you're getting that message, do not call. You're gonna create years of misery for yourself. They're gonna sell your number around a boiler room. People calling you back, trying to take advantage of you whenever you have a bad week on your own. It's literally one of the oldest business models in the book for guys that can't win betting on sports. That's how they do it. So any type of recorded message, free whatever, that's never going to make you any money. It's only going to create misery. But especially double sirens should be going off if that game is a game that's local to you where you're listening. Because these guys are smart enough to do 5 ads. So they're going to game of the week, inside information, lock in the whatever. It's Oklahoma and whoever when they're in Oklahoma. Game of the week, whatever, when they're in Texas and Michigan, when they're in Knoxville. Tennessee versus North Carolina State, game of the year, That is only to get you to pick up the phone so they can capture your phone number so they can try to sell you something later that will not make you any money. So do not do that no matter what, all right? Go to the website, fatjacksports.com, and most importantly, apply common sense. That's how you're going to get into profit. Apply common sense. Look at the results tab. Look at the recommended betting guide that's under the questions tab or how it works. There's a lot of places you can find that on the website. Read about it and ask yourself, does this sound like somebody that is giving everybody the same plays, giving the best games to everybody, and then asking them to play within their budget to build profit long term? If that's the case, then you're getting at the very minimum my best effort, the best that I've got, whatever that is. Now, 27 years will tell you that it's good. It's really good. But even if you don't want to factor in the fact I've been around longer than some of the guys out there trying to sell stuff, I've been alive, which is a whole nother story for another show. But even if you don't want to factor that in, factor in the fact that if you can get you can apply that type of common sense when you go to the website. At the very minimum, you know you're getting my best effort. And you're getting when I win, you win, and when I lose, you lose. And we'll talk about that individually each week on the show. So go to fatjacksports.com, get signed up today.
Hey guys, this is the Fat Jack. Are you finally ready to get a better plan betting the games this year? Let me help. Go to fatjacksports.com, where we understand that it's not the gambling she hates, it's the losing. fatjacksports.com.
Hey, this is the Fat Jack, and it's that time of year. Our most profitable season last year was the NFL. It starts this week. Are you ready to make money betting on sports? Go to fatjacksports.com. Less than $80 a week for the longer packages will make you money. We've got player props for those of you wanting to bet those. The NFL, college football, and everything else is all at fatjacksports.com. The plays are emailed to you, and they will make you money. Get signed up at fatjacksports.com and win money today.
Welcome back to the Fat Jack Sports Hour for the final time this week. Here is our host, and man, propping his way into the weekend. He's the fat. I was trying to find a segue for props, Jack, and it failed miserably.
You got there. You said the word props. If I would lead right into the props, that would be great. But as you know, I will start on something that has nothing to do with prop bets.
And then we'll circle back.
And we'll circle back to the props when time's running out, and I'll say something really fast. FatJackSports.com. Go get signed up today. Win money. You're about to get the first full week of the NFL season. Do not start that in the hole. It's very hard to play catch-up in the NFL. We're going to win this week in the NFL. Get those longer packages. They'll save you a ton of money. Had a bunch of people sign up for the month or the weekend and then upgrade to the season because they did the math and see how much money you actually save going through the Super Bowl or through March Madness or through the NBA Finals. So go to FatJackSports.com. Save it. It's about half, less than half when you divide it out versus going weekly. So good time to get signed up. Good time to win. I will be in New York this weekend. My son, who's in private equity and does really, really well, never quitting his job, he said, and his wife, who also went to the University of Chicago, makes very well into six figures, but doesn't love her job, have decided they're going to open a candy store called Little Sweet Treats. So if you're in New York City, or go to littlesweettreats.com online and check out. They had their soft opening last weekend over Labor Day. In New York, it's normally a dead time. They literally had a line around the building.
Saw that on Instagram. Yeah, that was wild.
God, so crazy. I mean, there's this type of candy is hard to get. She's the supply chain expert is one of the things she does. And they're able to get this candy in from Sweden, 3 different places around the world that it's really, really hard to get in. And people who know, it's one of those, if you know, you know. So go follow them at Little Sweet Treat on Instagram and TikTok because it's been an amazing journey to watch, actually. And they're killing it. But I'm going to be there. You can bet in New York, so I go to New York. I'm cool in New York. I'll go bet up there and then watch them sell candy, eat dinner with them. Might go to a game or two, but definitely just bet on sports. I'm actually going to talk to people with the Yes Network, the TV show as well. So a lot going on this weekend. Player props are going this week. Best time is right now. Prices won't go down for at least 3 or 4 weeks on that. You get the top 6 to 12 player props in the NFL each week. They're going to make you money. You can get weekly, you can get monthly, or you can get the whole season for about $50 a week. Make more money, make extra money with these player props as we go through the NFL season. They will make you money. Get them early. All right, you don't want to wait. Here we went 10-1 or something in the player props before you get on board. So go to FatJackSports.com. Add those as well. Brandon, free winner in the NFL. You have anybody you want to throw out there?
Cincinnati. Probably. I really am not been impressed with what the Patriots have done since Belichick has left. And breaking in, Jacoby Brissett as your quarterback, not starting the rookie Drake May. I just don't know what they're going to do. Joe Burrow, redemption season, healthy. Interested to see what the Bengals offense looks like without Joe Mixon. So they're going to try and have to replace him on aggregate. And they still have a contract situation with one of their best receivers.
Yeah, so we're going to have a bunch of plays on Saturday. I'll give you over in the Texans and the Colts. Will be my third segment free winner. But no, you're right. And the thing about that is, Brandon, is that the Patriots, it tells you as much about what Drake May isn't because we know what Brissett is. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, maybe he's able to come around. I like the idea of setting him when you have a really good quarterback, but Brissett's not horrible, but he's
adequate.
He's adequate against bad teams. He's not going to be adequate against teams like the Bengals. That's why they're almost a double-digit underdog. So, great week to see what's going to happen, though. Great week to get into profit. Final thoughts?
I realized this week how upset I am at the fact that the word palindrome is not a palindrome. Palindrome is the same thing backwards as it is forwards. I feel like the word describing it should also be that.
I don't have a problem with that necessarily. This is one of your random deep thoughts that we're doing each week.
It's one of those things that just you encounter throughout the week and you just file it away. And then my dumb brain at some point reaches back into the file cabinet and is like, hey, remember this thing? This thing doesn't make sense. And then it sits there and festers until I bring it up.
So honestly, palindrome should be called SOS or something else that's backwards is forwards. Will be another one that's backwards forward. We gotta go.
Race car.
Okay. So palindromes will now be race cars now. So
okay, fair.
New thing. All right, guys, have a great week. Wager responsibly. Don't drink and drive. Enjoy the opening of the NFL season. Let's make some money. Go get them. Have a great weekend for Brandon the Fat Jack. This has been Fat Jack Sports Hour. Hey, this is the Fat Jack, and it's that time of year. Our most profitable season last year was the NFL. It starts this week. Are you ready to make money betting on sports? Go to fatjacksports.com. Less than $80 a week for the longer packages will make you money. We've got player props for those of you wanting to bet those. The NFL, college football, and everything else is all at fatjacksports.com. The plays are emailed to you, and they will make you money. Get signed up at fatjacksports.com and win money today.